So I want to welcome you guys. Hello, hello. My name is Brittany Beasley, and this is my new show. It is called I'm Trying with Coach B. I thought you guys would definitely want to know kind of where I'm from. So again, I'm Brittany. I am a native of Denver, Colorado, born and raised. But I think I did most of my growth college and after college. So I went to college at Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I got my bachelor's in psychology. Went back home, stayed about a year and a half, and then came to Houston, Texas, which is where I reside now. I got my master's in clinical psychology, and I thought about going to get my PhD. And what happened between me not going to get it and choosing to go the life coach route was I was a volunteer for Katrina, and there were certain guidelines that I had to follow, being there, and being, more on the psychologist side. We couldn't show a lot of sympathy and empathy, and being forced out of your home, onto a plane. You have no idea where you're going. They're taking your kids. You see a whole bunch of people you've never seen before. You see mountains. The last thing that they needed me to do was be a board, and that's what I felt like I was. And at that point I realized I was not going to I didn't want to go to get my PhD in psychology. So I kind of did a little research and decided that I wanted to go the life coach route because I felt like I could help people a little more holistically. So my bishop, at my church has an institution. So I actually was certified through my bishop, Bishop Connie. I love her so much. I owe her so much. I've been under her since I've been in Houston, and that's been about 12 years. She's been my first lady. So that's kind of the the college side. Church side, because that's what I'm here for. I got saved at 5. I identified myself as being a Christian before I knew I was Black, before I knew I was a female. I knew that I was a Christian. Grew up in church. My mom and dad, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I was at church. And that's a lot of our stories, growing up in Black churches. Tuesday was prayer. Wednesday was Bible study. Friday was choir rehearsal. Saturday was the Sabbath service, and Sunday was Sunday service. So I literally grew up in church. So that was always a big part of my life. I didn't have a life outside of that. So going into my teenage years, it got a little difficult because I didn't know, I guess, the expectation, like how to be a Christian, how to live holy, and also how to be at school and kind of be a light. And we're going through all these things, all this music, we're being introduced to boys, being introduced to girls, and I knew I needed to be holy, and I knew, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't curse. But when it came down to the intricacies of what living a holy lifestyle meant, I had no idea. So going into my 20s, I knew that, okay, yes, sex is out of the question. I just felt like the people who did live holy, I grew up around all married couples. So I would see them with their families at church clothes. That was it. I didn't see the natural part of that, and that was my family. That was my life. We dress up, we go to church, we come home, and that was it. So that was easy when I was in Colorado. But when I got to good old Southern, and I got my freedom, I had no idea how I was going to live this holy lifestyle. So I got through it. I feel like I was very fortunate. Definitely, I never picked up any bad habits. I never smoked anything. I didn't drink. That just wasn't something that was part of who I was and who I am now. So, you know, I flew through that flying colors ish. So, you know, that got me to my early 20s. And, you know, going into my mid 20s, into my later 20s, I just still didn't really know what was okay, what wasn't okay. And no one could give me that answer. So that is one of the reasons I decided to do this show, was to kind of give you a guideline of what is expected of us. And of course, having a relationship with God, that'll pretty much tell you what you need to know. But definitely with my psychological background and my church background, it kind of puts and people always tell you that science and spirituality don't mix. Well, I'm that mix. I will pretty much give you, of course, my psychological background, and I've kind of put together kind of a pamphlet on the how-tos, because people can always say, hey, live holy, and then you really don't know what that means. And to grow up in church and really not know how to orchestrate my life and be holy was just really weird. I'm like, well, all I see you guys doing is going to church and you come home. But when you're growing up, it's like, okay, I have to live in this world. So how am I supposed to live holy, live in this world, and be okay? And that is where I was just so confused. I was so confused because no one could give me the answer. So I've just put together a couple of precepts that are going to help you kind of guide you through the world and continue to please God, live holy. Of course, that's not the only thing we're going to talk about. I have my little booklet. Other topics that, of course, I'm going to touch on. I'm going to have a couple of guests, which is also going to be really fun. We're going to talk about, of course, what do you do? What are you supposed to do when you're weak? That can be mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. We're going to talk about desensitization. We're going to talk about church hurt. We're going to talk about ego, pride, hypocrisy. We're going to talk music. We're going to talk fashion appropriation. We're going to talk church dress code. We're going to talk sex. We're going to talk idols, dating. We're going to talk happiness. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to talk about. And I'm excited. So I thought that I should just kind of welcome you to my show. Hello again. I am Brittany, and this show is called Coach B. So I hope you guys will tune in. I hope you guys will hit me with your questions. I will also have guests if you feel like you have something to say when it comes to any of these topics. If there are topics that you would like me to cover, definitely get in touch with me. You can hit me on my Facebook, my personal Facebook, Brittany Beasley. You can also get on my Instagram. It's going to be I'm Tryin with Coach B. I will also have most of these up on YouTube. So I really hope that you guys invite. I hope you enjoy. And I hope that I can help you to understand how to live a holy lifestyle, and also not be bored at your house. Also, really, when you see church people, you see them at church. You don't see them in their natural form. So there's been a kind of a weird misconception that church people are always church, always church. Everything they do is church. And I remember I was listening to Yolanda Adams, one of her interviews, and she said she was at the grocery store, and people were expecting her to be the Yolanda Adams that is on the stage. But there is a natural side to Christians, and if it was church at all times, we've seen burnout. We've seen families behind the scenes of leadership hurt. And I'm here to tell you that there is a balance. There's a balance that needs to happen. I don't see it. I haven't seen it in a lot of Black churches, and I feel like that's when things can kind of go awry when it comes to your family lifestyle, your marriage. It can get a little tough. That is also where people begin to, judge leadership. That is where, when it's not done at its best, that's when, hypocrisy starts to kind of float in the air. So I do want to touch on a plethora of topics that will not only help people who aren't in church, but it will also help leadership that are wanting to create that balance, need to create that balance, and just could maybe use a voice or hear another voice that says, hey, tradition has caused a lot of church homes to suffer. And it's going to be, of course, just saying that it's going to be a very honest talk show about, the intricacies of needing to have a balance and what happens when you don't have a balance. We're also going to talk about raising kids in the church. PKs have a super, super, super bad reputation, but I don't think people realize the pressure that PKs, preachers' kids are under growing up in church, growing up at church. Like, they are at church. I was at church more than I was at home. So I literally grew up 5 days a week in church. And we're gonna talk about that, and my bishop is actually gonna help me talk about that. So I hope that you guys will definitely join in. I hope that you will learn from this broadcast. I hope that I can bring about just a different way of looking at expectations and balance. You have to have balance. A couple of years ago, we had a lot of leadership commit suicide. And I thought it was the most horrible thing, because we know that that's something that is out of the question. It's out of the question. And how do you be leadership and take your own life? And one of my church homes, one of my pastors passed, and I will never forget his son saying, you will not kill me like you killed my father. And it was really sad. So that is why, as Black churches, I haven't gone to a lot of white churches, so I don't know about their balance. But as Black churches, we have to change tradition. We have to change tradition, and we have to start doing things different. Everyone has suffered from church hurt. That is going to be, that might be a part 1 and a part 2, and maybe a part 3 and a part 4. It's a hot topic. It's a topic that a lot of people won't touch. It is a topic that has brought a lot of hurt. It's brought a lot of discord. It's brought a lot of people to not even wanting to go to church anymore. It has severed ties between a lot of people and church. And in retrospect, it has separated them from God. And that's another reason why we're also going to talk about idols. And I'm not talking about just Chris Brown idols. I'm not talking about Bieber idols. I'm talking about leadership. I'm talking about your bishops and your apostles and idolizing them and putting them on a pedestal that puts them above humans. So when they act human, we fall apart. And usually when people use idols, they don't think about it in church, but it happens. And that's when church hurt is deep. If you have the expectations of a perfect person, an idol, you idolize leadership, it definitely hurts you. So we're definitely gonna get into a lot of that. So I hope again that you guys will watch my show. I am super excited about it. If you have any questions, definitely hit my Instagram, hit my Facebook, and I will see you guys very, 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 very soon. Thanks.